Hey guys, Secdot here. Um, it's been a while since I posted, and it's quite the story. This is gonna be a fairly uncut, well, it's gonna be uncut, and it's another story, but it's not really a good one. So, right now, most of my subscribers on YouTube, at least to my knowledge, are people that I know personally. And, there were a few people who just didn't know why I disappeared for a month. And if you don't know me in person, it's not just from YouTube. Like, nobody saw me for a month. From the 29th of January to the, I don't know, until yesterday, none of my friends had seen me in person, and they had they hadn't heard from me at all, really. But if you guys have, seen my personal Facebook and Instagram messages, which were actually the same messages, you guys know the general story. But I figured I'd want to tell you guys more in depth, because I know there were some people who were just completely, left out, and I just realized you can't see me. Ugh. Hold up. Don't ask why there's a ladder on my wall. Alright. Anyway. So yeah. I basically disappeared for a month. And, whether you do know or you don't, I'm going to tell you the full story. So, I don't have the best situations. I don't know how to say this. Basically, there's been a lot of negativity in my life, and I mean, like, a lot. Like, my dad died when I was 2. After that, I basically lived with my grandpa until he died a week before my birthday. When I was a week before I turned 10. And then, actually, a lot of people don't know this about me. And it's not just because, I don't tell them or anything. It's because I don't tell them, but it's not because I'm, scared to tell them or anything. I just don't see a need to tell them. But I am a type 1 diabetic, which sucks ass. That was only a few months after, my grandpa's death, and I can do another video on that, because that's a whole story in itself. So I'll probably do that, tomorrow, or something. I don't want to have too many real serious videos, because I'm generally not a serious person, which can be a good or bad trait. But anyway, so yeah, after that, and then, it might not sound that bad for you guys, but it was a really terrible experience for me. The following summer that my grandpa died, me and my family went on vacation to Minnesota, and every time I talk about that trip, because it wasn't a fun trip for me. I hated it. And I always blame it on the weather, because it was either way too hot or pouring rain. And there were actually a couple hailstorms they were pretty big. They were like golf ball size. Yeah, I always blame it on the weather, really. That's my only excuse. But really, it was just terrible for me because, like I said, all that stuff before was really bottled up. And I was far from my home. If you don't know, most of you do, but I'm from Alaska. And Minnesota isn't Alaska. It's not like I was in a big city or anything, which is kind of what I'm used to. Fairbanks isn't a big city, but it's a city. There are people. We stayed in Pine River, Minnesota, and there wasn't much to do there. That was, it was like your typical small town in the country that nobody wants to stay in. That kind of place. And, that place wasn't for me. I was still diabetic. I still am to this day because, currently you can't cure it. I mean, it's curable. We just don't have one. Yet. So yeah, I was diabetic there. I had very, very small contact with my friends back in Fairbanks. The only people I really talked to that weren't in Minnesota was, family members occasionally. And, that was terrible. And then, there were some complications with who we were staying with. So, finally, we came back to Alaska, I think a week before school started, and for us, up here, school starts in, August. So, yeah. And, also, I wanted to point out, while we were in Pine River, we were, hermits, because it was one of those small towns where you have to be from that small town, or, we weren't really accepted. So, whenever we went out to go eat somewhere, which the only two places were there was a diner, a bar, and a Dairy Queen. And whenever we went out to go eat there, we'd always get these weird looks from people who lived there, and it's we just weren't accepted. So, that was another thing. I didn't like it there. No hate on anyone from Minnesota, but I didn't enjoy that trip. So, yeah, back, in August, a week before school started, came back, and then, by then we were living with my aunt, and then this was the start of really, really bad living situations. We would move at least once a year. The shortest we've ever stayed at a house was probably a few months, and after this point, the longest was 8 months. Yeah, so I moved a lot. Sometimes what would happen is, alright, so we were with my aunt, and, she's kind of had some drug issues, so we decided that's not the best place for us to be. So, from there, we moved in with my stepdad's, parents. And that's also why we went to Minnesota, is because his biological dad lives there, but his mom lives up here in Fairbanks. So, he's your typical Minnesotan hockey player guy. He was actually a goalie for a while. I don't remember what team, but, nothing big, just local here in Fairbanks. But yeah, so, from there we went to his parents' house. Then we got our own place. Then we went back to his parents. Then we got our own place. And this went on for a long time. And, yeah. So then we finally got in what we thought was a decent place. It was actually a really nice place, and I think it wasn't a financial situation this time. We actually could, like, we had the chance to stay there and live there and, be settled for the first time in a few years. And, but then, me and my mom were not really getting along at all. And, I don't want to get into too much detail with it. Maybe, like, once I move out or something. Because I am honestly kind of scared that she might one day watch this video and be like, what the fuck? But, so yeah. I'm not going to talk about that now. But basically, we were not getting along a lot at that point. So I decided, it was like, you know what, this is dumb. Like, it got to the point where I was like, no, screw this, I'm leaving, and I decided to run away. And so I left 2 days after Christmas, which, now looking back on it, is really fucked up. But I left 2 days after Christmas. I was only gone for a day. I stayed at she wasn't my girlfriend at the time, but later she would be my girlfriend. Actually, most of you watching this now, I stayed at Ara's house. But I'm assuming most of you knew that. Anyway. So, and we'll get into her in a minute. She is definitely part of the story. So, yeah, I went to her house for like a day, and no, I wasn't an idiot. I was 12. Yeah, 12, I think. I was in 7th grade. Yeah, 12, okay, yeah, I was 12. So yeah, I was 12, so, nothing really going, I didn't have those kind of, you know what I'm trying to say. I wasn't, like, the dirty little boy. I wasn't the dirty little teenager yet that I am now. That sounds you know what I'm trying to, the point is across, I'm just gonna drop it now. Alright, so yeah, nothing, she let me hang out because we were really, really good friends then. And, I don't think, yeah, I know her parents didn't know at the time. I'm not sure if they know now. But for sure, if her parents had known that I was there, they would have killed us both. Because they didn't like me, and they didn't. There was never a time where they really liked me. There was a brief period where they figured out about my past, and they were like, oh, they kind of felt sorry for me, but they never really liked me. So, yeah, I just hid out behind her bed, because where I was, no one could see me. So, like, there was the door, and then there was the bed, and then there was me on the other side. Because she's one of those people that likes to have her bed so that you can get out from both sides. Me, personally, I just like to push it up against the wall to make more room. But, I'm not getting into that. So, yeah, and then my mom called, and she was freaking out, thinking maybe that, like, I would wandered off and was just in a stupor because of my diabetes. And, which is a thing that can happen. Blood sugar can get so low that you're not thinking. And thankfully, I've never gotten low enough to where I pass out or anything, but I've definitely been down there. I've been, like, a normal person's is, like, around 100. I think it's, like, milligrams per liter or something. I don't know. Yeah. In your blood. There is sugar in your blood. So, like, 100 is, like, the normal for people. Mine is at 21, and there have been people who pass out at 60. And actually, I have a really high tolerance for zero energy. But, so yeah, she was all freaking out, thinking that maybe I had, like, ran off into the woods and, like, passed out and died. So she was calling everyone she knew to figure out where I was. And, yeah, looking back on that, I was really mad at her at the time, but now looking back, it's like, if things were really as bad as I thought they were then, my mom wouldn't have gone out looking for anyone. She would have just said, he left, good for us. But no, she called everyone, yeah. So then, R started freaking out because she didn't know that I had actually had all my meds on me. So she's like, alright, you need to leave, go home right now. And it was about 9 o'clock. And for some reason, the trip that took me an hour to go to her house on foot took me 3 hours to go back home. And I think it was most likely because on the way home, I didn't want to be home. You know, I was taking my time, like, ugh, here we go. Gotta deal with this now. And, yeah, that's my idea on it. So yeah, I got there, and I still was like, you know, I'm not doing this. So I ended up staying with my grandma and living with her for a month-ish. Maybe longer. Yeah, I was staying with her, and yeah. So then, one day I was in school. There was like 30 minutes of class left. I was in middle school at the time, and I get some office TA, pulls me out of the class and like, hey, you need to go to the office, there's someone here for you. And I'm like, oh, okay, my grandma's probably just picked me up early because she got off work early or something. And it was my mom. And she's like, alright, Nathaniel, we need to just deal with this, and you need to come home. And I decided to because of my sister. I love my sister, and I don't think I've introduced you guys to her yet. She's adorable. Actually, yeah, you guys have seen her, but I'll do a video with her soon. But yeah. Yeah, I eventually decided, like, alright, I'll come back, and because of my sister. And it was purely because of my sister at that time, because at that time, I still 100% despised my mom. Like, I don't know, I guess 12-year-olds get pissed off easily. I don't really remember what it was, because, you know, that was a few years ago. That was only 2 years ago. Yeah, that was about 2 years ago, around this time, actually. But, so, yeah, so I moved back in, and they had moved houses again, because apparently the landlord was crazy. So now we were in a trailer park. And me being an optimist, instantly noticed that we did have the nicest trailer in the park. So, yeah, that was pretty cool. So yeah, we moved back there. Nothing was really set up yet. Everything was still kind of in boxes. And then, you know, we were just chilling there for a while. Me and my mom were kind of getting along better. I was with my sister and my brother again. My stepdad Cody, he was working a lot. He was driving cabs then, and he would work a lot at night. So, like, he'd be sleeping all day, so, like, we never really talked, which sucked, because he's pretty cool. And, so yeah, then July. My Anastasia's birthday, my sister, is the 13th of July. So we decided, hey, it's 4th of July. We're gonna go there for like a week and celebrate, or we're gonna go there. We're gonna go to my grandpa's lot on the Chena River. Yeah. And this is a different grandpa, not the dead one. Just clarifying. So we're gonna go over there, and we're gonna celebrate 4th of July, and stay there until Anastasia's birthday. We ended up staying there for about a month, because while we were there, we had gotten an eviction notice and not seen it. So, by the time we went back to the house on Stasia's birthday, we had the notice and we had to get everything out. And so we decided, alright, we'll just take all the stuff, bring it back down to the lot, and we'll stay here for a while. And I'm not gonna lie to you, that was the shittiest experience of my life, because we were outside in a tent. There was no house there, it was a wall tent. So, for a month, we were sitting outside, and it was like the wettest year ever recorded in Alaska. So, it was the wettest, shittiest, just miserable. That topped Minnesota for me. And I never thought I'd hate Alaska summers more than I hated Minnesota summers, because I really didn't like it there. And yes, it did have to do with the weather in Minnesota. I couldn't stand it. It was always moist and hot, and I didn't like it. Again, no hate on Minnesota or anyone from there. It's just I don't like it there. It could have been just where I was, but I don't know. But anyway, yeah. So we were basically camping for a month, and we decided, my mom came up with the idea of faking a story and basically got us into a homeless shelter. And so yeah, then we stayed there for a year. My entire 8th grade year I was there, and it was exactly a year until I moved into this place. And we've been here for a few months, but that year a lot of shit happened. Things with my mom were slowly getting worse. She was just always in a crabby, bitchy mood. And, nobody wants to be around someone like that. So I would make up any excuse I could to get out of there, but a lot of the time, I had no excuse to leave. And it was one of those places where either you're there, and they know it, or you're gone, and you have to be back by a certain time. So, yeah. And, also, this was they didn't let men in, so, Cody had to just go stay with his parents again. Which, looking back on it, I would have preferred to stay with his parents too, because it was pretty miserable there. It was a very small room. It was set up kind of like a hotel, but with one story. So, they even had key cards and everything. So, you get one room, you get one 2-room little, room. And there's this first little room, and it has a kitchen, and a couch, and a table, and everything, It's like a kitchen, living room, diner, all in one. And it was also my room. I took over, a corner, and it was about the size of this room. My room's a mess, sorry, so ignore the bottom, but it was about this size. Maybe a little wider, this way. So yeah, let's say the door was there. My little corner was right there, and I had a desk with a computer and everything, and I had planned to start making videos, and I'm pretty sure I did make a few videos. I don't think I ever uploaded them, or maybe I did, and they're just on a different channel. But yeah, I actually had a laptop and everything. I was actually pretty hooked up in there. But I got really, really depressed. And a lot of stuff happened. For those of you that know her, me and Ara had been together for about a year when shit hit the fan. And she cheated on me. And I'm not gonna lie, and I'm not saying this just to piss her off, because I'm not really over it yet, but at the time she was the only person that I could talk to, like have a real conversation with, and like tell her how I felt about things. And there was no one else there. And it gotten to the point where I was just so depressed and angry that I took it all out on her. And I honestly have to blame myself for everything that happened. I stayed with her after she cheated on me. Like I said, because she was the only person who would listen to me, and I didn't want to ruin that. I was very hurt, and I stopped going out, I stopped doing things, I stopped doing homework. I didn't pass 8th grade, really. My counselor just said, like my school counselor just said, I'm not going to fail you because I know you're a smart kid, and you know, you're just having a rough time, which is honestly bullshit. He said that to everyone, and I don't think anybody failed that year, and there was a lot of people who should have, including myself. Yeah, I shouldn't have passed 8th grade. I barely ate, I didn't talk to a whole lot of people, and then, yeah, like I said, I became this really dick person, just a complete asshole to everyone, and so we broke up, and from then I just sat in my little corner. Not that corner, but you know, figuratively, that's where it would be. I just sat there. I didn't even have a bed. I had a couple pillows to sleep on and a blanket. A thin-ass blanket. This is the blanket. This is actually my baby blanket, and somehow it can still pretty much fit over me. I've had this since before I was born. So technically my mom's had this before I was born, but once I popped out, this was mine, and I've kept it, because it's not that bad of a blanket, but it's really thin. Look at that. Really thin. And, so yeah, that's all I had, which was fine, because it got pretty hot in there. Like, it was summer, and there was... I mean, for Alaska, for me, it was really hot. I had a little fan, and I didn't even have an Xbox. I stopped playing my computer. I think at one point I broke my computer, so I couldn't play it, and I don't even remember how, but I broke it, and yeah, I had nothing to do but just sit there and sleep, and get up for meals, and go back to sleep. Occasionally watch some TV, but I did nothing. And then, around the end of the school year, I started hanging out with a few friends. Again, he was like, alright, you know, you need to get over this. And every guy has a rebound girl, and I found mine, and it was pretty bad. We got into a really big fight pretty early on. I'd say like 3 weeks into seeing each other. And yeah, so then at that point I was like, alright, fuck girls. Not, you know what I mean, like, girls are stupid, not like, literally fuck them, but, you know, like, I don't need a girlfriend. I have my normal friends. But then, I slowly, stopped hanging out with them more and more, and I was on my own again. Which was very different for me, because I had finally learned how to, like, rely on other people, and as soon as I was comfortable with that, everyone was gone. And so now, after finally we got this place, a few months ago, actually, yeah, exactly a year, after we had been living in that shelter, and, I was having a pretty rough time, again, with my mom. Things started going downhill again. I didn't have a whole lot of friends. There was Eddie, of course, but, I didn't talk to him personally at all. At school, I am still part of that group that just sits in the corner at lunch and, doesn't, the emo kids. Not that there's anything wrong with that, but, there's not a lot of us, and we are the people who are, often mistreated, and quite a few of us have a lot of shit we need to deal with. But yeah, I didn't have a whole lot of friends. I felt like I didn't belong in this family, actually. If things had gotten that bad with my mom, I didn't want to be here. And so I injected 100 units of insulin, which is a milliliter, I believe. And that's a lot. Definitely enough to kill you. And to this day, I don't know why. It's only been over a month, just a little bit over a month. But I don't know why it didn't work. But for some reason, something happened, and it didn't kill me like it was intended to. And so, and then, after taking all that insulin, that's the last thing I remember before waking up. Not like, it was kind of like, it was a blur. I just remember taking the insulin, and then boom, I was in the back of a cop car. But I'm told that what happened was, apparently, I had crawled under my bed so that nobody would find me, which is really fucked up. And looking back on it now, I feel actually really selfish, because there are a lot of people here who genuinely missed me. And like I said, that group, the emo kids at my school, they weren't a thing without me. Like, there was like 6, 7, 8 of us when I was there, and then they said, well, the whole time I was gone, the entire month that I was gone, there was 3 at most. And then yesterday was my first day back at school, and there was tons of us. Like, we were all finally banded together. We were the emo kids, not the emo kids. We were the fucking emo kids. And, like, unity. I sound so stupid right now, but whatever. Yeah. So, yeah. How many times did I just say that? Maybe I should edit this. I don't know. So yeah, I crawled under the bed, and so apparently my mom had thought that I had ran away, and I did leave a note. I don't remember what it said, because, like I said, after taking the insulin, I just gone. Didn't remember anything. So after I took the insulin, apparently I'd crawled under the bed. My mom saw the note that I think I left in front of the front door, inside the house still, but she wasn't there at the time, so her first thought was that I ran away again. And so she called the cops, and they told her to check under beds and in closets and everything just to make sure, like, I'm not just fucking with her. And she looked under there, and at first she thought I was just hiding there. She started talking to me and stuff, and I was out. I was not conscious. Yeah. So then she called the cops back again. She was like, he is unconscious under his bed. And then, I guess, this is where I kind of start remembering things, but it's a little, like, fuzzy. A Fairbanks police officer started talking to me, and then, like, I slowly came out of the, I don't know what to call it. It was basically like, kind of like a coma, but it wasn't, like there was not enough energy in my blood for me to stay conscious. So I was passed out, and I slowly started coming out of it. And so the officer, he was like, asked me, like, what's up? And I guess I was, like, stuttering and slurring, and because I remember, like, in the car, he says, like, dude, you sounded drunk, like, 30 minutes ago. And so, like, yeah, apparently I was really out, and I just slowly started, like, coming back, and he convinced me to check into the hospital. We did go through the ER, but, I didn't need an ambulance or anything. He helped me get into the car. Cop cars are really uncomfortable. They're plastic. They need some new cushions in them. But, so yeah, brought me to the ER. My mom took her car. And then, yeah, that's when I really was like, okay, I'm back now. What the fuck, Nathaniel? So I spent a few days in the Fairbanks Hospital, just so they could get everything, physically okay with me. Because, being diabetic, if you mess some things up, you can really mess other things up. Like, eyesight, your feet. Thought I heard my mom coming in, but where was I? So yeah, they got everything physically okay with me, and then they sent me down to Anchorage to the Providence Hospital, and there was this. Basically, I was in the psych ward, which is like where, before, whenever I heard psych ward, I'd think like asylum, like that's where all the lunatics go. But really, I actually made quite a few really good friends there. There's only one I'm still talking to today because we weren't supposed to get any like last names or anything or social media, but I'm a sly motherfucker. So, yeah. But yeah, I made a few friends there, and actually, they started me on some antidepressants, and also, apparently, I never really thought about it before, but I have, like, minor anxiety problems, and that runs in my family as well as depression, which I didn't really think before until they started talking to me about it, and it's like, oh, you hesitate to do things because you're scared that you'll get laughed at or something, and I was like, it's not as major as you guys are saying, but yeah, there have been some cases where, like, I mentally, like, oh, don't do that, something's gonna happen. But then I think again, I'm like, what are you saying? Just do it. Shia LaBeouf, shout out. But yeah, like, let's say, like my pants, for example. These are some skinny ass pants, you know? And, the first time I got these pants, I put them on, walked out my door, and then I instantly, like, the second my foot stepped out of the door, I'm like, oh my god, people are gonna start laughing at me and shit. You need to go back and change. And then I, like, that was all in one split second, you know? Like, you can, the thought enters your mind, and a split second later, you're like, what the hell are you thinking? Like, first off, if anyone cares, at that time, when I first got these, this was like 2 years ago, at that time, if someone said something to me about my pants, I would not be afraid to start a fight, and, like, screw you, I'll wear what I want, bitch. But, so yeah, I was like, you know what, no, you're good, you can do what you want, and if anybody has the nerve to challenge you, you have the confidence to fuck them up. And that's not as true today, because now I realize, like, I'm a little guy. But if I do ever get in a fight, I still have that mentality that, like, I'm not done until I'm passed out. Just to get the message across that, you know, yes, you may beat me, but, you know, it's not going to be easy. So yeah, so I had a little social anxiety, and major depression. There was, like, they say there's like 9 things, and you need to have at least 7 of them to qualify to have major depression, and I had 8. So yeah, they don't have me on a lot, but it's only been about a month, so we're going actually in a few days to see if we need to adjust it at all. And I'm really not sure. There have been some times where I was down, and there have been some times where I wasn't. But yeah, so that's basically the story, guys. I'm doing a lot better now. Learning to accept some things. I did try to finally apologize to Ara for taking everything out on her, but she has made the decision to not want to be a part of my life at all. And I can see that, and I can see why. And there's nothing I can really do other than to accept it. But to everyone else, I feel really selfish because of what I tried to do. And yeah. So, thank you guys for watching this long ass video. Hey, sirs up. Yeah, thank you guys for watching this long ass video. I'm not gonna ask you to subscribe or anything, because obviously if you're watching this for the first time, this is pretty boring. This is mainly for the people who have already been on my channel, and also this is going up on my Facebook and Instagram, just to explain everything that happened, and, you know, to clear it all up with you guys, because I hadn't told anybody. Ara was the only person that I had told, and looking back, that was a mistake, because not only was I not getting the closure that I needed, I was also pushing her away slowly, and it's fair to say, I'm still pretty young. There's a lot of people in the world. There's like close to 8 billion now. But yeah, you can say that, but you know, I still feel like I really fucked up, and there's not a lot of things that I can think about that don't ultimately lead to her. Like, I could look at a door and say, oh yeah, remember that one time you hit your face on a door And then Ara was right there and like, oh, are you okay? Like, yeah, that's how serious it was for me. And I mean, that's not, I don't think that was something that actually happened, but that's just an example. Sorry, I thought I heard someone. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, you can contact me. And yeah.